Hey, it's Pete Cohen here. Welcome to the My365 podcast series and episode 141. It's that time of the month again. It is our member of the month. This is when we showcase some of the success that we've had with the number one coaching opportunity in the world. We believe that your future's unwritten. You have the power to change. And in order for you to really tap into the potential that you have, you definitely need world-class coaching, which is me. You need access to the greatest tools, tips, and techniques in the world to help you revolutionize your life, but also start to apply techniques and strategies that will just help you achieve whatever you want in your life. So when we do our member of the month, we really want you to identify with the person's story, because there's a great story in all of us. But if we don't really look to capitalize on the greatness that exists within us, then we just tend to live a life of mediocrity. By the way, the word mediocrity means being stuck in the middle of a rugged mountain. And we don't want anyone to be stuck. We want everyday people just like you and me to achieve the life that you were put on this earth to achieve. So check out the My365 podcast with our member of the month for the month of June, the incredible Mr. Glenn Murray. It's Pete Cohen. Welcome to the My365 podcast. We have our member of the month, and it is the amazing Glenn Murray. Member of the month for June. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
How are you?
Fantastic.
So let's start off by when we told you you were our member of the month. What did you think?
So many emotions. One was like, really? Me? Why? That was a big one. And then, yes, just amazing. I was like, well, why not?
Yeah.
Absolutely, why not?
See, that's fascinating right off the get-go, because it obviously sounded like you had a conversation going on inside your head, right? Which is, yes, why me, and blah, blah, blah. But then another voice said, no, yeah, why not?
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and maybe just tell us a little bit about what you've achieved since you've been a My365 member.
My name's Glenn Murray. I'm 44 years old, live in Surrey in Byfleet. I'm a production coordinator for a drapes and rigging company. What have I achieved? I've achieved so much within me. It might not necessarily be physical things or things that you can touch, etc. But for me, it's been about me emotionally, get to know Glenn. When I was younger, I had a little bit of positive mental attitude, training through a company that I was with called Amway Network Marketing. And that was great, and I suppose that's where I kindled my first love of developing myself and understanding it. But then there was a long gap. I was in catering, run hotels, etc. My dad was in the RAF growing up, so we moved around, lived in Germany 5 years, lots of schooling, different schools. So moving around a lot, getting to know lots of people, and then more so, bringing it more up to date. You popped up on Facebook. On YouTube. And I was like, oh, okay. I haven't done anything about positive mental attitude for a long time. It dwindled away a little bit. And then I got really excited. I was like, oh, okay. There is more out there to look at. And I thought, well, I've enjoyed what I had with Amway. And I thought, well, I need to go a little bit more into that and find out what it's all about. So I looked at it, joined up, and what I've achieved is it's all about finding about me, what I am, what I want, and where I'm going.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit of a cliche, but it's not. I had goals, ambitions, but to me, sometimes the old me would have think, well, they're just goals and ambitions. Surely you just work your Monday to Sunday or Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, whatever you work, and eventually it just happens. Your dream just happens, or your goals just happen. Well, no, you've got to put things in place for these things to happen.
Yeah.
And you've got to work on yourself. You've got to look inside. You've got to find out who is Glenn. He's an emotional person, which I found out. It's good to cry. It's good to show your emotions, especially as a bloke.
Yeah.
We don't do enough of that. It's helped my relationship. It's given me goals for the future. It's stepped me out of things I would have never done as an old Glenn. I tried skiing for the first time ever with my wife, and it was fantastic. I absolutely enjoyed it. I was like a baby again. I kept falling down, laughing, and getting back up and doing it again. I went on a yoga trip on my own without my wife with 27 complete strangers, and amazing in India. It was an amazing trip. Found more relaxation which helps me through meditation and things with My365. Going forward, there's I've never been a walker, but there's something called the Trail Walker, which I'll be doing 100k in 30 hours.
And you've recruited some other My365s to come and do that with you, which is awesome. I put it
out there, absolutely. The My365 people and the tribe, the team, the family, they're all like-minded people. So I just put it out there and said, anybody up for a challenge? And it is a hard challenge, mental, physical challenge. And that's another thing, that the old Glenn would never have done.
There's so much in what you said, and that whole thing around challenging, finding yourself, finding about personal development. You talk about the company Anway, who are, there are people don't know, they're a massive company and worth billions, and they're a network marketing company. But was it in the 80s, in the 90s?
Yes.
You were probably in there. And it was all about personal development. People who were in Anway would be listening to personal development tapes, because that type of business, I would imagine, I know from my own experience of network marketing, is you only grow, your business only grows in direct correlation to how much you grow as a person.
Yes.
But what I'm curious about, Glenn, is when you got into personal development, what was it about that you enjoyed and made you want to? I mean, why would anyone want to put in a tape and listen to someone speak? We talk about Otmandino, and it was funny because just so anyone who's listening and watching to this, we've actually recording this podcast for the second time, because the first time we recorded it, the sound didn't come out, so we're doing it again. It's a bit of a challenge. My challenge is to make this podcast better than the one before. But we spoke about Otmandino, and his book is, what was his book?
Well, there's lots of different books.
Yes, but there's a quote here. Can you read that?
And most of all, I will love myself, for when I do, I will
zealously inspect all things that I allow to enter my mind, my heart, my soul, and my body. And that was actually Dr. Rakowski, who's the My365 resident nutritionist and health expert at the My365 Summit, who actually said that. And this seems like the journey that you are on, is that you've started to inspect all things that you enter into your mind and in your heart. And
absolutely.
So let's just go back. So when you were into personal development in the first instance, what was it about that made you want to do it? I mean, why not watch an episode of EastEnders or read a newspaper? Why would anyone want to develop themselves?
Well, I suppose the question is, well, why wouldn't you? I suppose, when you see somebody on TV or down the street and you think, wow, he or she is walking upright, very proud, and something about them, or a TV personality or something. And you think, why can't you be like that? They've obviously had coaching and stuff in the way they are. They didn't just born like that.
Yeah.
There's been a process of that. Well, nothing's stopping you from being that person.
So are you talking about maybe an actor or a presenter or a sports person, the fact that you see greatness in them?
Yes, but why can't... They're only people, they're only me and you.
Yeah.
They've just maybe had a bit more coaching, a lucky break sometimes, but they are just me and you, and they've worked on themselves hard. And I think to myself, it's like, well, I can be that person.
Yeah.
Not necessarily an actor or whatever, but I can be a better me.
Yeah.
I don't want to be sat in the rat race just doing the Monday to Friday, constant back and forth to work and everything else, and everybody looking at you going and judging you for who they think you are.
Yes. So in essence, what My365 has done for you is really allowed you to tap into you being a better version of yourself, to be happier, more content. I suppose what's fascinating is when you look at anyone who's had any degree of success or lasting success, is they've actually gone to work in mastering a few things, doing things which maybe are a little bit mundane, that maybe most people wouldn't want to do. Yeah. Is that kind of what you've done? You've kind of gone to work in embedding certain ways of thinking or rituals?
Well, it's finding about what... I'm generally a happy person, so one of the things that I didn't think I need to overly work on is being happy. I don't think I suffer with stress too badly or anything like that. But going into when you really start looking inside, which is not an easy thing to do as a bloke. We don't look inside.
Why do we not do that?
You know, we have this barrier around us.
Yes, I'm a man.
We're men.
I'm a real man.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we don't have problems. We deal with problems. We sort the problems. The wife comes with us, or your girlfriend comes to you has a problem. You solve it. You deal with it. You know. But no, that's wrong. Nowadays, that is totally wrong. To have a better, fulfilling life and relationships, you need to know who you are. You know, you need to show emotions. There's nothing wrong with showing.
So when
emotions.
you talk about who you are, who is the essence of who you really are?
The essence of who I am very. It comes from within. Only I can say who I am, but that's different to who you are.
So who are you? Yeah.
So I'm Glenn Murray. I'm very loving. I want to be the best that I can be. Well, what does that mean to you? Well, to me it means I want to constantly learn. I am a student of life. I want to constantly understand and learn new things. Keeps your brain active, and then share that love or those interesting things that I've managed to accommodate in my whole stories of life and give to other people. Show other people what.
So in the podcast before, we spoke about stories and you love stories and creating your own, your own. Do you think that there's a great story in everybody?
There is. You just need to bring it out of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, we're all the same. We're all born. There's all the outside influences when you're young start shaping you. When you start realising they're only just outside influences, you don't need to take it. You can create your own life. You can create your own future. Your future is unwritten.
Yeah.
And you have the tools and the knowledge and the coach and the right people around you to help you push you to where you need to go. As long as you're honest with yourself, yes, you can do anything. People aren't, Richard Bransons of the world aren't amazing people. They weren't born amazing.
Yeah, they've gone to work. They had dreams things that they wanted to work towards.
Absolutely.
For me, obviously, having worked in this field for so many years, I'm still as curious as to what drives people. And what I definitely see is that gap between where people are, where people want to be, and the easiest thing to do with that gap is either to not do anything and be probably unhappy, and then the next is to do it casually, and then you become a casualty of the thing that you wanted to achieve, or you can wholeheartedly go after something, and it seems what you're after is just to learn, grow and develop and share that with other people. Is that what you're the essence of who you really are, is you just want to give your best of yourself to yourself? Yeah,
my future goal, what I can see my future goal, I've got to be the best that I can be to give to other people. What my future goal and what I can see is I've given up work amazingly. I've been able to do that, not now, but in my future self.
Yeah.
That I'm not at work, but I'm looking after my 2 children, which I don't have 2 new children with my wife at present.
Yeah.
With my 2 dogs, my 2 cats. I've got a part-time business, which is CBT and NLP, and helping the people that are less fortunate than myself. I've found that out from being that I want to help people, from being a scout leader, and the youth are our future. I know
sounds like a cliche, but it's true.
But it is true, and there's so many negative outside influences out there that I think we have a due diligence to show these youngsters that you can be whoever you want to be, but do it in the right way. You're going to have choices. You're going to have crossroads, but have the mindfulness to understand that they are just choices. You can go.
Yes.
You have to have a clear path of where you.
But very wise words. I often think, if Donald Trump can become the president of a country, what could we do if we decide that we want to do something? And I think, probably now more than ever, we need to rise up and be examples, because people need to follow people who are looking to give back. Because if that all stops, then I think that the whole place is completely doomed.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit more about what the whole My365 experience has done for you. Has there been any kind of key lessons through the masterclasses, through things like learning about willpower and confidence and best year yet? Are there any things that have really stood out for you that have really helped you to develop?
Yes, again, the best year yet, it encompasses everything in what... But you do have... The one thing I will say, I'm just a normal Joe. I really am. And you really have to take chips off your shoulders and really engage yourself on looking into yourself. That's your first step. Not look on the outside influence, really look into yourself to then really find out who you are. Only when you find out, I suppose, who you really are, can you then make your steps forward of where you want to be.
Yeah. And that's what you've done. And I think that takes guts, and I think it takes courage, doesn't it? Because it's like opening the door and going into a room and seeing stuff and think, actually, I don't actually like some of that stuff. And that's what I got with my coach. My coach, I used to be with him, and I used to feel really uncomfortable sometimes in his presence. It had nothing to do with him. It's just he was so comfortable in his own skin that I could see my own reflection in him. I could really see what I was doing and moving through the world in ways. And I think sometimes we don't want to address the parts of ourselves that perhaps we'd rather keep hidden. What parts, through going through this My365 journey that you've been on, have you identified and you thought, oh, I'm not so keen on that part of myself and I want to change?
I suppose, well, the one thing that has changed, and I can say, it definitely has changed, is the emotional side. Me being a bloke, and we need more blokes in My365. They need to come out and come in and do this, because it's amazing. It has saved my marriage in the respect of, when you show emotion, the other person then will understand more of how much something means to you. You know, it helps you ask the right question, not just be the typical bloke and just be belligerent in everything that comes along. It's, you know, being emotional, asking the right specific question. I've shed tears when I've spoken, etc. That was a big thing for me. Blokes don't shed tears. That's not a thing. But there's nothing wrong with shedding tears. You know, you have to do that.
It's allowing yourself to feel, right?
Yes.
But also, it sounds like you've learned how to control your emotions. So you're choosing the emotion that you want to feel, but at the same time, allowing yourself to feel emotion that comes up, rather than thinking, I shouldn't be feeling that, so I'll just push that to one side.
If it comes out, express it. Let it out. Just go with it. It really is. Just go with it. There's nothing wrong with it. People then can't judge you.
Yeah.
They can't say, "Oh, you're hiding something." Well, no. If I'm crying, I'm not hiding anything. My heart's on my sleeve there.
I suppose the tribes that we all live in, because we all love to associate with tribes, whether it's our friends, our football team, that whoever it is, we think this is who we are, and maybe we don't want people to see those parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
But so you've seen a part of yourself that you thought, oh, this is a part I wanted to change. Were there any parts of yourself also that you thought, this is something I want to work on, this is something I want to change?
There's the health side, the fitness. Your mind's constantly active, so there was a very much of a mindfulness understanding, and meditation's helped me through that.
Yeah.
My yoga has obviously helped me through that. I was never a natural yoga person. My wife said, "Oh, let's do something together and we'll go and do it." Okay. So I'd done it, persevered, it was great. But with My365, that has also helped me progress and want to do that by opening up myself, by opening up my mind. It's not a spiritual thing in a weird way. It's just releasing a lot of anxiety, letting yourself go, just chill, relax, being the most calmful mind. There's nothing running around in your brain. And that is an actual wonderful thing. It's the hardest thing to think about nothing. That's hard to do because there's always stuff going on in our lives. But once you get to that point, it is just nice.
So mindfulness is obviously a huge part of My365, and I was speaking to a doctor friend of mine, and he was saying, he's an older doctor, and he was saying, look, people think they're working harder than they were. I said, no, they're still working as hard, but they're not switching off.
Yes. There's
so much distraction, there's so much impulsivity that when he was young, that didn't exist. So it was easier to switch off and just to spend some time to focus on yourself and work out what's really important. And that's obviously something that you've done. You've put in. Tell me, what has been the result of you putting in the work? Because it seems like before My365, you would do things that were good for you, but not do them consistently.
Yes. And
it seems like now, for an extended period of time, you've consistently worked on a few things that have brought about a big change. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So consistently practicing mindfulness, consistently practicing yoga.
Consistently watching podcasts, consistently putting yourself in with like-minded people, which is a community of My365, the family. doing certain rituals, you know, you're waking up in the morning, you're doing the meditation, even the little goals, even the little nuggets, even the smallest things can make a big difference. Having a warm glass of tepid water in the morning starts your metabolism up, not having a nice cold glass of water because your body has to work harder.
Yeah.
You know, you want to get metabolisms going. So little things like, just even the smallest little steps can, you know, really then transform into something bigger.
Yeah.
And it's great.
I also love the way you've decided to build some dreams, and I think we've spoken about this, how everyone has goals and dreams and ambitions, but in fact our member of the month for May, Jen, she spoke about that. We've all got them, but it's like, well, what are we going to do about it? Yeah. Whereas when you told any people around you close to you about your dreams and stuff, did anyone kind of think, well, what?
It was interesting. I told something like this within My 65. Patty, she, you know, write down. Oh, let's write and draw your future. So I took it home. I done it, and I posted it on the wall. And my wife was like, she looked at. I knew my wife looked at it now and again.
Yeah.
And then she did ask me one day. She goes, "Well, what is this?" I said, "Well, that's our house." I said, "That's us two. There's the pram. There's the two babies. There's the two dogs. There's the two cats.
Yeah.
This is where my CBT, helping others, it's all there, all in this picture." She was like, "Well, what is that?" I said, "That's our future." "Well, that's what my future that I would like." She went, "Oh."
What did she say to that future?
She actually was quite, she was fine with it. There was a lot of things obviously processing, kids.
Yeah.
We spoke about it, but it's like, well, when am I going to have those, Glenn? I'm a stunt woman. When am I going to do that?
She's a stunt woman.
Yes. So in that respect, you know, she's you know, fitness freak and everything else. So that has other issues where for me that I have to deal with to bring myself up to such an inspiring of everything that she does. But anyway, sidetracking the goals, and she saw it, and then she actually felt at ease because she knew then that I have a future with her in the respect of I have a goal and she's in it.
Yeah.
And I have a picture of where I want to be, and she's included.
I suppose that's
which men don't do.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people don't. And even if they do it, they might write it down once and then think that's it. You know, I've studied success for so many years, and you see people who are successful, they will be every single day reminding themselves of where they're actually going. Because it's like a business. If, you know, people think it might be a bit weird to draw things, but any company has projections of where it's going, and we are a company, I suppose, living our lives, and we should have missions and we should have a purpose. But something you said really just made me reflect that I don't think we have to discover our purpose. I think it's just already there. We have to just kind of let it come to the fore. And what you've done, Glenn, which is another reason we wanted you to be member of the month, is that you've done a whole load of things that you wouldn't normally have done before, to play around with the edges of what's comfortable. What's that done for you in terms of, like I know you just said about going skiing when you didn't know anyone else that was skiing, going on a yoga retreat, but you knew a couple of people in India. What's that been like to start skirting and playing around with the edges of what's comfortable? What's that done for you?
It's opened up a new me. It really has, you know. I was in school. I was a very quiet person, so I've always watched the quiet ones. He's in the corner, etc.
Yeah.
But what it's done for me is it's really brought me. It's opened up some new avenues. You know, I've done it. It's been great. I'm going to constantly do the skiing. It's amazing. Should have done it 40 years ago. The yoga retreat on my own. Never travelled to India. Never gone on a holiday on my own for one. Never travelled to India ever before, and I only knew 2 people out of the 27 people that went. So it was like, okay, that's a little bit nervous, but come on, you can do this, Glenn, and do it. And I've done it, and it's fantastic. But it's then given something inside me that says, well, if you've done that, there's nothing else that you can't really do. You know what you're going to feel. You know how to get through that barrier of what you're going to feel. So let's just carry on and do it. So now, the world is my oyster in that respect. For what I know, whatever I want to do,
you can do it.
I can do it. I know that sounds a bit.
I just think it's.
But I felt it. I've done it, and that's why I know I can do it.
Well, I think you stand as a real beacon of I'd say, hope to people, but I'd like to say especially men. From my experience of working in the field of personal development since 1989, really. I've definitely worked with a lot more women because I think women tend to be more open in moving forwards, whereas men, we tend to be a little bit more reserved. And I think we are now putting a new spin on the whole term of manning up, as opposed to, come on, man up, put your socks up, don't cry, be a man, drink a couple more pints of lager and be a bloke, as opposed to what we're saying is, look, be a real man and listen, go on a little bit of a journey of self-discovery, prepared to acknowledge there are parts of you that you want to change. But let's talk about, using that analogy of going into a room and seeing parts of yourself maybe you don't like. What has this experience of My 365 done for you in terms of realizing what you're really about and, realizing that you already have so much of what you already need?
I suppose, as you said earlier, we all have it inside us.
Yeah.
It just somehow needs to come out. Now, the only way it can come out is by you understanding that there is someone inside that needs to come out.
Yeah. So what do you mean that, like, we've all got a purpose, we've all got a unique kind of message or a unique signature or unique gifts that we need to give to the world, and unless we give them to this world, perhaps we're going to feel slightly unfulfilled.
Absolutely, and it doesn't have to be a big thing either.
Yeah, it doesn't.
The biggest things start with the smallest step. It's Kaizen. You've got to take little steps.
Yeah.
Even if it is going outside and just taking some plastic off the street every day that you do as you walk up and down the street. That's one person that's doing it that millions of people aren't doing.
Yeah.
It's little things, understanding that, So when you feel that, you get a real feel of happiness, knowing that you're doing right.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have somebody patting you on the back and saying, oh, well done, but you're doing something right. So
in a world where extrinsically we're looking for things outside of ourselves, now, I'm not here to say there's anything wrong with those things, whether the trappings of houses, cars, all the things that money can buy, but from what I've seen, it always leaves something short if you're not fulfilled inside and fulfilled in giving something back. And the real hero's journey, I think, and we've spoken about this before, that we're all on a journey, right? Yeah. And we love watching these films because we identify with the characters and the fact that someone's called to an adventure. I called you to an adventure. You might not have wanted to have gone on it, but you've gone on it and you've found things about yourself. It probably wasn't always easy, but now in what Joseph Campbell talks about, if you haven't seen the film called Finding Joe, about this guy Joseph Campbell, who was George Lucas's best friend, who looked at all of these stories, that is called Bringing the Boom Back, which is you've discovered things in yourself and now you want to give that back. And sometimes that's the hardest part for some people, to give back what they've discovered for themselves. Yeah. But you don't seem to find that difficult. I think you just want to give to the world, right? I think you're right. There's always been something there. When I've moved, whether it's to do with my upbringing with the RAF and my dad and going around in lots of different places. Obviously, I didn't know it then, but then as I've got older, before I bought a house that we're at the moment, we're always renting everywhere, and I always wanted to give something back. But because I was renting, you never know, you might be moving off, etc. But then when we bought a house, I thought, right, I've got an opportunity to give back now. I was a bit scared because I thought, I don't know what I want to give back. So I became a scout leader. And then within that being the scout leader, it was a big step. I sent the email straight back, yeah, we'd love to have someone like yourself, younger, because generally scout leaders are all very old, of an older generation, because there's not enough people wanting to give back. Everybody wants their kids to go to Cub Scouts and be there, but no one wants to help. I think you just hit a massive nail on the head there. In this world that we're living in now, where people want something, and not necessarily for nothing, but feeling like the world owes them something. And I personally believe we all owe the world something, and we owe it to the people who gave us life to give life to others, because I don't speak about this that often, but I do believe that everyone was put on this earth with unique gifts and talents, an absolute uniqueness. There's only one of you, there's only one of me, and there's a reason why the New Zealand rugby team has an 82% win ratio and is one of the most successful sporting team of all time. And then if you look at why, the why is, if you play for New Zealand, whether you play one game or 100 games, when you leave, you left that team in a better shape than you came here in. So it becomes more than just about you.
Yeah.
But if you want to do that, you have to work on being the very best that you can be. And I think that's what you are a great example of, I believe. And I believe I'm a great example of it. I'm always, it's not a destination that we have arrived. It's something that we are constantly looking to work on.
But the other thing you've got to remember, I did do this, but not all by myself.
Yeah.
I needed a coach. I needed someone to show me direction.
Yeah.
I needed to be in a community of people that are of the same mind that are there to help you, not hinder you. Your friends and family, you wouldn't necessarily tell them your wildest dreams and things like that because you know they might be going.
Especially about talking about finding myself. It's like, well, what's wrong with you? Why don't you just look in the mirror?
Absolutely. But the My 3 Size community and you, the coach, is so. There's nothing wrong with having a coach. A coach needs a coach. We all need to learn from somewhere. Yeah. It's not just ding, it happens. But everything that I've done, achieved, is down to My 365. The principles, the tools of what you do. Even if it's just the podcast, the little nuggets of the podcast that you get.
Yeah.
But they're little golden nuggets that you take with you and you think, okay, great.
Well, that's what I want to know from everyone who's listening to this or watching this. What are you going to take away from Glenn? Because, Glenn is bringing the boom back. I don't actually know what that means, bringing the boom back, but it's what Joseph Campbell talks about. I think meaning you've discovered something and you want to bring it back and do something with it. And I'd be really interested to know, what are you going to take away from what Glenn has shared? The world does need more people like us to rise up and say, come on, let's be incredible. Let's be unstoppable. Let's leave this world in a better place. And I appreciate your kind words about, but I need people like you because I've got a big goal, right? Which is I want to impact the lives of 100 million people. And if you impact people and those people don't know me, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And I had a coach. My coach was a hell of a lot, I said better, but just he was far more experienced than me. I don't know whether you can see, there's a picture of him over there. And my dad, who when this goes out, I don't think my dad will be alive. He's experiencing the last few hours of his life in a hospice right now. He passed things on to me. My coach passed things on to me. I'm passing things on to you, and you can do what you want with them. But what I love about you is the fact that you have used a lot of that, and you found peace, and you found a path that you want to walk.
And excitement.
And excitement, which is...
Because nothing can stop me.
So what's next? What's your next big challenge?
Well, the next big challenge right on my doorstep in July is a trail walker at the moment.
Which is 100 miles across the South Downs.
100k. 62 and a half miles.
And you've got quite a few My 365ers that are coming along and doing that with you.
Yeah, absolutely, which is absolutely fantastic. The walkers, Sophia Best, Brian Harold, and...
Oh, wow, Nicola. Brian Harold's coming all the way down from Scotland. Sophia Best, previous member of the month. We're definitely going to come and meet you, and we're excited. I would encourage you to go and check Glenn out. Whether you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram.
Yes, I'm on Instagram. What's attitude_.
Say that again.
Attitude_.
Attitude_wins. Wins. Attitude_wins. Follow him. If you've enjoyed this podcast and you're on iTunes, please make a comment. It makes a massive difference in the exposure that iTunes gives us. If you're watching this on our website, make a comment, like it, whatever you want to get this information out there. It's an absolute joy to have you as member of the month for the month of June, and I'm excited, like you are, to see where we're going next and the difference that you're going to make to this world. So thank you so much for joining us. Join us next time for another My 365 podcast.